Hi there, and welcome to Draw With Me. I'm Danny Gregory, and it is Thursday. Time to draw with me and with each other. Hopefully there's some people out there watching and getting ready to draw. As you saw, we had a Twiglet and Dog Fest last week, where we had so many great drawings of my dog, Twiglet, and of other pets, other dogs, and even a couple of cats were thrown in there, so that was really cool to see. So, good morning, everybody from all over. It's so nice to see you, and we have a bunch of stuff to talk about today, which is exciting. And where do I want to begin? I'm a little bit flustered, as you saw. We had a bit of a tech something or other. I was busy trying to fix it in the background. Everything worked out fine. But a few things that we're going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about a question that somebody asked me about ink a couple of weeks ago. I went out and found answers to that. So we're going to do that. We're going to do a little tequila. It's early, but it's Thursday. It's mini Friday. It's almost time to get into the weekend. So we're going to do a little tequila later on. And we are going to, I promised that I would give away a fine Hahnemühle watercolor sketchbook. I promised I would do that. And a lot of you wrote into me asking that I give it to you. And today we're going to find out who Twiglet has decided we should give it to. So stay tuned for that. We will pick a winner later on, or she will pick a winner. I'm just here to verify the results, like they do in the Oscars. Put my accounting degree to use. And what else? We're going to, as I said, we're going to do a little tequila. I have a really great little surprise sketchbook tour later on that's special. It's more than just a flip through. It's going to be, that's going to be really fun. And let's get on with it. Let's get into it, as they say on YouTube. Let's plunge in. All right, where do I want to begin? Well, I want to talk briefly about what happened last week, which was we talked about Spark. Very briefly, I just want to go through this and to give you a sense of what it's all about. So we talked about Spark last week, which is the membership program at Sketchbook School. A lot of you were really interested, but a lot of you had dozens of questions. And I spoke to a lot of you on Zoom. I had individual calls with a bunch of people. It was really great to meet you all and to tell you more about Spark. And lots of you have joined us and signed up, and that's fantastic. And, I've been thinking about it all week, about why didn't you know what Spark was? Because I don't talk about it that often. It is something that I spend basically all day, every day, either working on or thinking about. So that was a bit of an oversight. But I want to try and do better, to just tell you a bit more about it, because it's not just to sell you on it, but because it is, to me, a constant source of inspiration. It's kind of spending a couple of hours a day working with people and making art. And I just want to show you, briefly, this is what we did this week. We had, these are some drawings that people did this week in Spark. We had a lesson on drawing trees and leaves. And this is what Janice drew. Jane LaFazio came in to draw flowers, and one of our students, Allie, drew these beautiful flowers. So basically every day, several times a day, we're having what are essentially mini workshops on drawing stuff. Watercolor Wednesday last week, we watercolored melons, and people did, just juicy, amazing watercolors of melons. And that was going on. And then we did a thing about, on Monday, we did a thing about drawing kids' drawings and talking just in generally about how kids make art, which is something we've talked about on Draw With Me as well. Something that I really love. I love to see the expressiveness of kids and also to learn from them and to be inspired by them. So we did a little bit of drawing from kids' drawings, and we basically treated them like master drawings. Like if you took a Rembrandt drawing and you drew it, copied it perfectly. So we did some of that. This is called Art Break, where we take a video from the Sketchbook School library and we work on it. This is a drawing based on a lesson by Swaski about using different colors for different degrees of depth in colored pencils, which is interesting. And Kosha dropped by and we did a Draw Tip Tuesday, and we all drew our shoes, which was nice. And then some folks are working on my iPad course, and they're working together on that and just kind of going through the lessons. And this is one of the pieces that somebody is working on there, using repeat patterns, which I think is coming out amazingly. It looks like a published children's book illustration already. And then Janice did a whole thing about glazing. How do you do glazing in watercolor? Which here somebody took a picture of themselves going over the work and like really just learning about it, building charts and all that kind of fun stuff. And then we did a thing about Felix Scheinberger's work, and we reviewed his work and studied it and tried to do a drawing in the style. This person's drawn a begonia in the style of Felix. And then Felix actually came yesterday, and we spent the morning talking to him. He took us through his sketchbook. He's just a great artist and teacher, and so that was really cool. And it was really fun. So that was what we did this week at Spark. So that's kind of like the sort of thing that every week we did go through. And I got so many emails from people about this that I'm creating a special alias, which is just spark@sketchbookschool.com. So if you want to know more about it, you want to talk to me about it, you want to get this special offer that I'm giving, write to me at spark@sketchbookschool.com, and we will get into that. All right? Let's move on. Let's move on to talk about, I want to talk about this agave watercolor paper, which I just got, which is really nice. I think I mentioned this before. Hahnemühle makes this new kind of paper, which is, it is super smooth. So it's watercolor paper, but it's made out of agave, which is like a natural thing. It's natural. So I thought that would be really fun to try out. So we're going to work on that. But I also wanted to address a question that somebody asked me about ink recently, because I was talking about these two kinds of ink that I was using, which is drawing ink and calligraphy ink. And the question came up: what's the difference? What's the difference between calligraphy ink and drawing ink? And I have to say, I had no idea. I used both of them, but I didn't really understand what they were. So I went out and I got in touch with my friends at Winsor Newton. I said, just tell me a bit about it. So these are the notes that I took about the difference between drawing ink and calligraphy ink. And the reason this is useful, this is part of my endless attempts to really understand art materials and to understand, like, why do I buy these particular things and how do I use them properly? So hopefully that's something that appeals to you as well. So let me just take you through what they told me about calligraphy ink. So calligraphy ink, you can use it, as it says here, you can use it in a brush and a dip pen. You can also use a lot of it in a fountain pen. Now when I say a lot of it, not all of it. And strangely or annoyingly, you can't use black calligraphy ink in a fountain pen. You can't use white or gold, which they do make. The gold is gorgeous. Look at that. Yeah, I've had fun drawing with that. You can't. Those ones are they're opaque, so you can't use the black, the white, or the gold in your fountain pen. But you can use it in a dip pen. You can use it with a brush, of course, and you can use it with an airbrush if you're still into that kind of thing. And what else? It is. Oh yes. So calligraphy ink is pigment based, which means that it's permanent and it's light fast. So if you do a drawing or a painting in ink that is pigment based, you can hang it on the wall, you don't have to worry about it. However, drawing ink is dye based. So dye based means that it isn't as light proof, and it has shellac in it. So again, you cannot use this in a fountain pen either. Again, you can use it with a dip pen or a brush. Oh, great, I just splattered some on my drawing. Great. They both will get on your fingers. Yeah, you see, typical. This is This is what I wrote about in my email a couple weeks ago. Gosh. All right. So the other thing about drawing ink that I really like is it's so intense in the colors. I mean, look at this. These are the colors that I've been working with. Those are really, really bright, right? Really bright. I mean, they're, to me, compared to watercolor, and this is a similar thing I did with watercolor, pretty different, pretty different. So I really like the vibrancy of these colors, so that's why, but I'm using them kind of like watercolor. And so these give you this intensity that I really like. Calligraphy ink, slightly less intensely bright. They're both transparent-ish, pretty transparent, you know, like that. So that's pretty good. That's a little black drop of ink, and that's a band of thing of color. What else? This drawing ink is pretty water resistant, which means that, you know, you can see compared to this, it's better. It's better when you rub. Let's take this. This is a brush, and here you can pick it up. You see, it picks it up a bit. Probably not as much as watercolor. Try the same thing with watercolor. Ruin my really good chart here just for you. You can really reactivate the watercolor. So, yeah, you can sort of do the same with both, which might be something you want to do. You know, you might want to do that, but it can bleed a bit. So you have to be a bit careful of that. I found in general, though, it's pretty good. You can put another layer of wash on top of it, and it won't go berserk. And so these are all Winsor Newton. For those of you who are asking, Monica's asking, these are all Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton are the inks that I use. And what else? As you can see also here, the white and the gold are pretty nice and opaque. So you can draw it right over black. Comes out really well. So that is great. Generally, you can tell the ones that are opaque have the red lid, and the ones that are the regular ones have the blue lid. So the opaque ones do not use in a fountain pen. I mean the ones with the red lid. All right, so that's it. That's what we need to know. Shellac and pigment. Not light fast, pretty permanent and light fast. Depending on how you're going to use it. If you use it in the sketchbook, you don't have to worry about those kinds of things because the light's probably not going to get into your sketchbook and fade your drawings. All right, are we clear on that? Let's start doing some drawing. So, one of the things that I got from Hahnemühle is I got this little tiny agave watercolor set of paper as well as the big one. So I want to try it out. I'd been trying out little examples of it, and I just like the idea of working small. So we're going to do just a little tequila. So let's move on and do a little tequila. Here's some tequila. Why tequila? Because it's agave. Agave is what this paper is made of, so it just seems interesting. If you don't want to draw tequila and you want to draw some other kind of alcohol, you can. Or if you want to draw a bottle of Tabasco sauce, you want to draw any kind of bottle at all. That's kind of the idea is, let's work on a label, on glass, on all the various interesting things that bottles can show us, right? That's sort of what interested me today, was just, I wanted to play around with how we deal with the liquid, and this is a nice clear bottle, so we can do that. And that's kind of what we're going to work on. So I'm going to do a little bit of just painting in water first, because I want to see what it's like to get that top layer. So I'm going to work in bluish. Do you have to shake them before you use them? Not really. No, there's not stuff in them. At least the opaque ones you might have to. The opaque ones do have a bit of stuff in them. They do separate, but the general ink are just nice and clear. So I'm mixing kind of a little bit of an aqua color there to try and tackle that top part. Let's see how this works. Yeah, you see how it's kind of running into the thing? Let me zoom down here closer. It's getting kind of furry and fuzzy on the edges, which is okay because I'm going to come back in and I can neaten that up, or I could just leave it sort of impressionistic if I want, but I kind of like the general look of that fuzziness. But I think what I will do is quickly, I'm going to take my paper towel and just going to clean up the center part of it where the label is. All right, there's that. And now I'm going to just very sort of generally sketch where the outside of this bottle lies. It's kind of nice to work nice and small for a change. Something sort of satisfying about it, about just working on a different scale than normal. Pulling out my little brushes. And I want to dilute it even more here. I do want to have a bit of color here, not much. And like with watercolor, you can keep building up layers. You know, you can put on other glazes on top of this, and you can get more sort of deeper saturation of the color. And you can also keep correcting your shape a bit, because see how it's getting clearer now? That fuzziness is now turning into a sharper outline, which is better. Just more, looks a bit more like the bottle, but you know, we could be impressionistic. I mean, look at this one. Kind of whole other world of drawing that I did there. And now, so I think in the interest of trying this out, I might combine both of these different inks and just see, you know, how they're different. But you see these colors are really nice. I hope you can tell, just even from the camera, that you can tell that these are really nice bright colors. And I like me a nice bright color. Now, here's a thing you can't do with watercolor, which is I can now bring in my dip pen. And even though this is still a bit wet, I'm gonna take the risk. I'm gonna draw here, hoping against hope that none of the wet ink bleeds into these lines, but it's not doing it. So yeah, so that's an advantage that you can. Here I am, unlike with watercolor, I can actually be using the exact same color, exact same ink, to do not only my wash but my line as well. And I can even do cross-hatching like that. We'll see if it works, but what I'm hoping to do later on is I might come over and do a little bit of a wash of a color on top of these cross-hatches. But I'm putting in this like little bit of wood texture that there is in here. I'm just putting that in. So, oh good, the leaf blowers are here. Our garden has gone insane over the last week because we've had rain, which is so unusual for here in Phoenix. We just haven't had much rain, and now suddenly everything is going nuts. All these, you see that? It is a bit wet there, so I got that kind of messy line, but I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it. It's going to be part of the charm of this drawing. It's that bleed. It's actually kind of cool. It looks almost like this particulate matter floating around inside of that tequila. So that's okay with me. Janice, the ever-vigilant defender of watercolor. Here we go. She says you can use watercolor as an ink. Brush the watercolor onto your nib. True. I guess you can. but I like having a nice ink bottle. All right, so now this is, I want to make sure that this is dry, because if I'm going to do this stuff inside this label, if I'm going to start trying to get into doing this lettering, man, I cannot have it bleeding. Should we switch? Let's switch to the calligraphy ink and see if it makes any difference. I'm going to clean off my nib first. Check it out. Oops, I almost used the wrong color. Oh, there we go. So yes, I want the blue. I'm going to mute this for 1 second while this leaf blower goes by. Alright, he seems to have passed on. Let's get nice and intimate here, shall we? Twiglet is outraged by the leaf blower. This is really tiny. I feel like I'm one of those like guys making a ship in a bottle or something like that. I should get one of those special like types of magnifying glasses that you wear around your forehead. This is very small, but again, this dip pen has a nice sharp point to it. It's if I don't go too crazy pressing too hard, it will allow you to make such a super fine line. And then this crazy business, how do you even do this? Something like that. And then there's that little thing there. Blanco. I'm going to make it blue for now. And then I'm just going to indicate some of these other bits of lettering. I'm not going to actually write them, of course. But I don't want to leave them blank because I want to give a sense of a bit of texture here. Tequila. I had never really drunk tequila until probably the last 2 or 3 years. It always seemed kind of scary to me. Not a big drinker, but tequila just seemed like, wow, that's hardcore stuff. But it isn't actually. It's perfectly fine. I've found that it's okay. So now I'm going to try something else, which is I'm going to try dipping into both inks and seeing what happens. It's probably not a great idea because I'm probably mixing them in some way, but I thought it might be interesting to try and do this in a sort of tealish kind of way. But I might come back in and do it with a brush as well. So there we go. And now I might do the same up here at the top of the again, we're drawing liquid, and it's reflecting all the stuff around it. It's not just a flat color, of course. Doing a bit of this lettering that I can't even quite read. And make up what it says. doing some lines like that there. It's one of those drawings that's going to look a lot better. It's kind of good that it's small because it'll look better from far away. Doing all these details. And now let me bring in my aqua again and just start adding some more layers. Glaze. It's funny, you think clear glass, like how can it have so many colors in it, right? Because this is basically a clear bottle, and yet it's got all these greens and blues, and it's reflecting things that were in the studio when they shot this. There's imperfections in the glass, which are giving it some kind of waviness, which is pretty cool. Now, in an ideal world, I would have been really careful with where I put this so that I had preserved more of this white, but I didn't because I'm me. Being really careful is not what I do. Oh, and finally, I wanted to paint Don Julio. You can see him vaguely in profile here. Barely see it. And then I want to get like a little tiny bit of lightish tannish. So I'm going to refer back to my color chart here, and I'm going to see that peat brown might be the answer to that top thing. Yeah, so I'm introducing some peat brown. Hi, do you know Pete? Do you know my friend Pete Brown? Boy, this camera is unforgiving because this camera makes this drawing is it's not fair to me or this drawing to make it so huge for you to see all the flaws in it. I'm gonna back it off because it's like 3 times the normal size on this monitor. Like, whoa, that doesn't seem fair at all. All right, I made it a bit more swimming pool looking, perhaps. And then, of course, this could have been yellower. Do I want to risk doing that? No. I think I'm going to put like just a little bit of a doodad here just to give it some weight sitting on the table. All right, that's more or less it. All right, that's it. A little tequila in the morning. What do you think? Donna says, in Mexico, tequila is not served cold with tomato juice. Whoa. Wow, that sounds pretty good. David says, I just took a hit of tequila and now the drawing looks fantastic. Maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should have done a bit more tequila this morning. Thank you, Janice. So, all right, so there we go. That's a little, it could be kind of cool to do like a whole series of these, right? To do a whole bar of little tiny drawings. So this agave paper is sort of interesting because it's, it's not super absorbent like watercolor paper is. I'm getting like pretty nice edges that maybe on a cold pressed paper I might not have gotten, and it's pretty smooth. But I was able to pick stuff up. I'm gonna try picking it up again because I want to just see if I can get anything up. Yeah, I can get a bit of it up. To get something up, absorb to rework it. So you can do all that, and the paper is like taking a licking. It's fine. There's no problem picking that up. The colors look nice, so good. Pretty happy with that. The shape of the bottle is not quite accurate, but who knows? Who cares? Anybody who's that familiar with what exactly this tequila bottle looks like is probably too drunk to care that I got it wrong. At least that's my excuse to myself. All right, let me stop before I ruin it. I'm definitely at that stage where I'm about to start ruining it. Done. Dunzo. Don't you think? I think I've achieved adequacy. That was quite fun. Next up, I want to share with you this tour that Carlos gave of his travel sketchbooks, which is really cool. I filmed it before the pandemic, and I've been hanging on to it, wondering when I was going to share it. The time has come. And I also want to have Twiglet do the drawing. Not the drawing, but to draw a winner of last week's sketchbook. So we'll get to that in a second. Let's go to... Yeah, let's do that now. We'll do the giveaway now. We've put a bunch of names of everybody. A lot of people wrote to me about this. Probably 30 people wanted to get this sketchbook. And so I promised that I would draw in the sketchbook. I actually would start it off for whoever wins it, so that you didn't get like a cold, empty sketchbook, but that you actually could have a jump start. So I did do some drawing in the sketchbook, and I'm going to hand that out. So, but first let's see who it goes to. Okay, that's it. That's the one he picked. This is it. All right. All right. So this is what she picked. She can be really picky, and she can go back in sometimes and pick a second one. We're like, no. The first one is the winner. So let's see whose it is. It's kind of disintegrated a bit with dog spittle. Man. This is not very official looking, but here it is. It appears to say Anne Hardy. Anne Hardy. So if your name is Anne Hardy, Twiglet and I are going to send this out to you in the next few days. I'll send you the sketchbook, and we'll send you a few other little cool things. Maybe I'll even send you a little one of these tiny agave pads. They're pretty fun. I'm not sure if Anne is here. If she's not, well, she's getting it anyway. But we'll be doing more of these kinds of giveaways in the near future, because I'm getting a lot of loot from Winsor Newton and from Hahnemühle, and I want to share the love, share the joy. But speaking of Winsor Newton sponsors this next segment, which is every week I go out and find an artist to do a little tour of their sketchbooks. We love sketchbooks, of course, and there's nothing cooler than having an artist show you their sketchbook, flipping through it. And in this case, we're actually going to have a little narration as Carlos tells us a bit about this particular sketchbook from his library of sketchbooks. Here you go. Carlos Aponte, great artist. He taught in our class called People Drawing People. He is a New York-based artist. And he also teaches at FIT. He's just, the way he draws just freaks me out. I can't say it more simply than that. He's able to draw so elegantly and simply. That to me is just, I just love artists who are really efficient with their lines. So here's Carlos.
So these are all my sketchbook. These are sketchbooks that I've done since when I travel. I like to take them with me. I don't take photograph. My partner take photograph. I don't. I like to sit and sketch for 5 to 10 minutes. And I say 5 to 10 minutes because, when you're traveling, you want to see a lot of places and you don't have time. So I try to really kind of sketch as fast as possible. This one from Spain. I went to the museum and I sketched all the bust from the museum. The food was really kind of cool. I love the gazpacho in Spain. I love the variety of people at the flea market. The bullfighting posters. People looking at the Picasso Guernica at the Museum El Prado. It's another Picasso sculpture outside. Love to see the people walking in the park, different shapes and sizes. There's a guy working, texting, and that's my partner smoking a cigarette. And this is in the evening. This is before we came back. And this is where, this is the airport. And I saw this really the planes, and I love the designs. And this is my dog receiving me. And then after that, I went to Lake Seneca. This is in July 1st, and I was sketching. I like to sketch while I, sit in the back of the car, which I find it really kind of cool. All the cars and stuff. And I think it's very, very interesting to sketch. And this is the lake. And this is Christopher and Rex, my dog. This is the area. It's a beautiful house that belonged to a friend of ours, just across the lake. So this is just what I love to do. If I'm traveling, wherever I go, I'm always sketching, always doing, a drawing.
Pretty cool, right? I just love his stuff. It's like I study it and I try to get there to be that economical. And you see him draw. He's like an Olympic fencer. He's just so smooth, so confident. He draws an awful lot, of course, but he has a background in design. So I think that's part of what's going on there. He thinks like a designer as much, and I don't know, designers as illustrators are a particular breed that I really admire. I just love designers in general. So there's just they're thinking about ideas, they're thinking about communication as much as and problem solving as much as technique and materials. So that is pretty cool. What else? I missed one comment. One person asked me, can you use the same brushes for ink and watercolor? I do. Yeah, just clean them properly. We did a whole thing. You missed it 2 weeks ago. We had the brush experts talking to us about how to use brushes, and they all said you can certainly use. And I'm using like my good Winsor Newton brushes. This is like $100 brush. Hard to believe, but it is. And as long as and I've had this for a long time, not as long as David Pyle, but I've had it for a long time. And as long as you clean it carefully and don't allow any stuff to get inside there, right there, just really get it clean. The ink, it seems to be fine with ink. And yeah, but you can also, if you're nervous about it, just get a separate kind of brush. Keep them separated, but there's no reason they can't. Laura says, "Can I revive separated ink?" I mean, as I said, like this is a brand new bottle here, and the ink does get separated. And you can just shake it up, make sure that lid is on tight. Trust me, speak from experience, and then just shake it up. You could even put a stick in it, put like a chopstick and stir it up. But yeah, it should be fine. But if your ink is really old, buy some new ink. Do you really need an excuse to buy art supplies? Yes. Yes. JG points out that the Q&Art Brushes live webinar that we did only for those special people who signed up, you can now see it on our YouTube channel. It's it is absolutely a treasure trove of stuff about brushes. So check it out. It's free. It's there. How do you clean your brushes? Analia, go and watch this video, and it will tell you exactly how to do it. It is, you should do it. If you ever use a brush, you should watch this thing, because you'll learn everything you ever need to know about brushes, and you'll look after your brushes, and you'll buy better brushes, and you'll use them better, and you'll make them last forever. It's really good. So yes, going back to Carlos, spare use of line is so good. I love how he designs a page. Yes, definitely. I mean, he thinks throughout the whole thing. I mean, like that Picasso one where he drew Guernica in the background, and then he drew all the people as kind of almost like wireframe, sort of the crowd in front of it. I mean, that was just great. As Betsy says, definitely a designer. Yes, he's reducing things down to their shapes, down to their basic shapes. He talked a lot about that in that class, People Drawing People. And Samantha says, sketches instead of photos. Yes! Yes! Wherever you go, particularly if you're traveling to a new place, take your sketchbook. Take your pen. Draw everything. Draw in museums, draw in cafes, draw on the bus, draw your hotel room. Draw. Well, all right. Thank you so much. We went through an awful lot today. I'm sorry if it felt like it was a lot, but we did get a little tequila. Look at how little that is. Like that's barely a shot glass. It's barely a free sample. But it's cute. I just love having these little tiny things to do little tiny sample things. It's just fun. It's nice. All right. Thank you very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure. By the way, let me just remind you of the last few things I wanted to talk about. So if you made some tequila today or something else that you drew, put hashtag SBS Draw with me so I can share it next time. Post it on Facebook, post it on Instagram, and we will track it down, and we will say this is a masterpiece that needs to be included. Please subscribe to this channel. It's a YouTube cliche, but it's true. The more people subscribe to this channel, the more people see videos about art. So if you subscribe, all you have to do is click on it, and that way also, when we do another one, you'll know about it. I'm doing like at least 2 videos a week now. I'm doing this Draw with me. I'm also doing video essays. I'm also doing other little things. So quite a lot of stuff. I'm really into YouTube and making videos these days. So if you want to see them, just subscribe and like it if you did like it. If you didn't like it, say you liked it anyway. What does it hurt you? It gratifies my fragile ego. Spark, if it intrigued you at all, you want to talk to me about it, write to me, spark@sketchbooktour.com. We'll set up an appointment. We'll chat about it. I'll let you know more about it, and I'll give you a special deal on it. Thanks again to Winsor Newton and Hahnemühle for making agave paper. Taking agave and making it into paper. What next? What will they make out of? I don't know. What is Scotch made out of? Rye? Wheat? Maybe they'll make some other stuff. Beer, hops. I'd like to see some hops paper, please. And Winsor Newton, thanks for making these inks. They're damn cool. I like them. I'm learning a lot about them and how to use them, and I'm forcing it upon you, the audience, too. I hope you're inspired by trying out ink. Ink is cool. There's so many ways to use it. I'm learning new ones all the time. And the best thing about ink is, unlike watercolor, ink stains your fingers, so it'll remind you that you're an artist, and you'll be able to go around to people, and people say, "Oh my God, what happened to your hand? Oh, are you an artist?" And you can say, as a matter of fact, I am. I hope you say that every day. I do. I rarely leave the house, but I say it to my dog. I say it to my wife. I say it to my mirror when I shave. Yes, as a matter of fact, I am an artist. Time for some more coffee. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.